Chapter 1. The Scapegoat's Mark. The scent of my own blood mingles with the pine needles beneath my knees as Alpha Thorn's claws retract from my shoulder, leaving 4 deep gouges that will scar, a permanent reminder of my shame. The crimson droplets catch the moonlight like fallen stars, and I can't help but think how fitting it is that even my blood looks ordinary under the silver glow that should make all wolves feel powerful. Mira Ashwood. Thorn's voice booms across the clearing, each word a hammer blow to my already shattered spirit. By the ancient laws of the Shadowpine Pack, you are hereby banished for the murder of Elder Corwin. The pack's collective gasp cuts through the night air, but I barely hear it over the roaring in my ears. Murder. The word tastes like ash in my mouth. 3 days ago, I found Elder Corwin's body in the sacred grove, his throat torn out, his lifeless eyes staring at the canopy above. 3 days ago, I became the perfect scapegoat for a crime I didn't commit. I didn't kill him. I whisper, my voice barely audible even to my own enhanced hearing. The words feel hollow, useless. I've said them countless times over the past 72 hours, and still no one believes me. The evidence speaks louder than your denials. Beta Marcus snarls from Thorn's right side, his amber eyes gleaming with something that looks disturbingly like satisfaction. Your scent was all over the grove. Your claws had his blood beneath them. Because I tried to help him, I want to scream. Because I attempted to heal his wounds with my pitiful excuse for wolf magic. Because I was stupid enough to think I could save him. But the words stick in my throat like thorns, cutting deeper with each attempt to voice them. The pack members form a semicircle around me, their faces a mixture of disgust, pity, and cold indifference. Some I've known since childhood. Mrs. Chun, who taught me to bake wolf-friendly herbs into bread, young Tommy, who I helped with his first shift just last winter, Sarah, who was my best friend until she found her mate and decided I was too much of a liability to her newfound status. None of them meet my eyes now. Please, I try one more time, hating how broken I sound. You know me. I've been part of this pack for 23 years. I've never hurt anyone. Why would I kill Elder Corwin? He was teaching me about the old magic, the healing arts. Enough. Thorn's roar shakes the leaves above us, and several pack members instinctively bare their necks in submission. The matter is decided. You will leave Shadowpine territory by dawn, never to return. Should you set foot on our lands again, it will mean your death. The finality in his tone hits me like a physical blow.
This is really happening.
I'm being cast out, marked as a murderer, stripped of everything I've ever known. The invisible threads that bind me to the pack, threads I've always felt so weakly compared to others, begin to snap one by one, each break sending agony through my chest. I struggle to my feet, my legs shaking from more than just the cold mountain air. The movement sends fresh blood trickling down my back, and I can smell its metallic tang mixing with my fear scent. Several pack members wrinkle their noses in disgust. Where am I supposed to go? The question slips out before I can stop it, and I immediately regret showing such weakness. Thorn's lip curls in a sneer. That's no longer our concern. Perhaps the rogues will take you in, though I doubt even they would want a kinslayer in their midst.
Rogues.
Packless wolves who've either been exiled or chose to leave. Most go mad from the isolation. They're wolves turning feral without the anchor of pack bonds. Others become dangerous, preying on the weak and innocent. Is that what I'll become? Will I lose my humanity along with everything else? A warm breeze stirs the clearing, carrying with it an unfamiliar scent, wild and clean, like rain on stone and wind through mountain peaks. Several pack members shift restlessly, their nostrils flaring as they catch it too. But before anyone can identify its source, it's gone, leaving only the familiar smells of home that will soon be forbidden to me. I take a step backward, then another, each movement feeling like I'm walking through quicksand. The pack watches me retreat with the same cold attention they'd give a threat, ready to strike if I make any sudden moves. My wolf, usually so quiet and small within me, whimpers in distress at the loss of her pack bonds. Go, Thorn commands, his voice carrying the full weight of his alpha authority. before I change my mind about letting you leave alive. I turn my back on the only family I've ever known and stumble toward the treeline. Each step takes me further from the warmth of pack bonds, from the safety of belonging, from any hope of proving my innocence. Behind me, I hear the soft sounds of the pack dispersing, returning to their lives as if I never existed at all. Just before I disappear into the forest, a voice reaches me through the darkness, low, rich, and utterly unfamiliar. Interesting scent for a murderer. I spin around, my heart hammering against my ribs, but the clearing is empty except for the lingering echo of those words and the strange certainty that my exile has just become far more complicated than anyone imagined. They cast me out under the cold moon, not knowing I carried the spark of the Luna, who would change everything. Chapter 2. The Stranger's Shadow. The forest swallows me whole, branches clawing at my torn clothes and tangling in my dark hair as I stumble deeper into the wilderness. Every shadow could hide a predator. Every rustle of leaves might signal pursuit from the pack, or worse, from whoever really killed Elder Corwin and let me take the blame. My shoulder throbs with each heartbeat. The Alpha's claw marks a constant reminder of my new reality.
Packless.
Homeless. Branded as a killer. The phantom ache where my pack bonds used to anchor me feels like a gaping wound in my chest, and my wolf whines pitifully at the emptiness. But that voice. Interesting scent for a murderer. The words replay in my mind, rich and warm like aged whiskey. Whoever spoke them wasn't part of Shadowpine Pack. I would have recognized any member's voice, their scent, their presence. Which means someone else was watching my exile. Someone who questioned my guilt. The thought should comfort me, but instead it sends ice through my veins. If it wasn't a pack member, then who? And why were they there? I push through a thicket of thorny underbrush, wincing as the barbs catch my already torn shirt. The fabric tears further, exposing more skin to the mountain's chill. At this rate, I'll freeze before dawn breaks, assuming I don't collapse from blood loss first. A branch snaps behind me. I freeze, every nerve firing at once. My enhanced hearing picks up the soft whisper of fabric against leaves, the barely audible placement of careful footsteps. Someone is following me. My wolf surges upward, desperate to shift and run, but I force her down. I'm too weak, too injured, and my shifts have always been slower than others. I'd be caught before I completed the transformation. I know you're there. I call out, surprised by how steady my voice sounds when my insides are churning with terror. If you're here to finish what the pack started, just get it over with. A low chuckle drifts through the darkness, and that same whiskey-smooth voice responds. If I wanted you dead, little wolf, you would have died in that clearing. He steps from behind a massive pine, and my breath catches in my throat. Tall and broad-shouldered, he moves with the fluid grace of a predator, completely comfortable in his power. Dark hair falls across sharp cheekbones, and eyes the color of storm clouds assess me with an intensity that makes my skin prickle. He's beautiful in the way apex predators are beautiful, deadly and magnetic in equal measure. But it's his scent that truly stops my heart. Wild and clean, like rain on stone and wind through mountain peaks. The same scent that stirred the clearing just before my exile. He was there the entire time, watching from the shadows. Who are you? I demand, taking an involuntary step backward. My heel catches on a root, and I stumble, barely catching myself against a tree trunk. His nostrils flare slightly, and something shifts in his expression, surprise, maybe, or recognition. My name is Cain. Cain Ravencrest. He pauses, as if the name should mean something to me. When I show no reaction, his mouth quirks in what might be amusement. And you, Mira Ashwood, are either the most accomplished liar I've ever encountered, or you're telling the truth about Elder Corwin's death. The fact that he knows my name when I've never seen him before sends fresh alarm through me. How do you know who you are? I make it my business to know about unusual wolves. His gaze travels over me, not in the way men usually look at women, but like he's cataloging something important. And you, little wolf, are very unusual indeed. There's nothing unusual about me. I say automatically, the response I've given my entire life. I'm weak, barely able to shift, can't even maintain proper pack bonds. That's why they found it so easy to believe I'd turned killer. Kane moves closer, and I should retreat, should run, but something keeps my feet planted. Is that what you believe? That you're weak? It's what I know. The words taste bitter on my tongue. He stops just outside my personal space, close enough that his scent wraps around me like a warm blanket. This close, I can see flecks of gold in those storm-gray eyes, can hear the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. There's something almost hypnotic about his presence, something that makes my wolf sit up and take notice in a way she never has before. Tell me about the night you found Elder Corwin, he says softly. I shake my head.
Why?
So you can decide I'm guilty too? So, I can understand why someone with your particular gifts would be framed for murder. Gifts? I almost laugh at the absurdity. The only gift I have is disappointing people. His eyes narrow. You tried to heal him. It's not a question, but I nod anyway. He was still breathing when I found him, barely. I tried to stop the bleeding, tried to use what little healing magic I know. But I'm not strong enough. I never am. Show me. What? Kane extends his hand, palm up. Across the center runs a thin cut, fresh and bleeding sluggishly. Show me this pitiful healing magic of yours. I stare at his hand, then at his face. I don't understand. You want me to
Heal it.
if you can. Why would you trust me to touch you? Everyone thinks I'm a murderer. His smile is sharp, predatory. Everyone thinks many things. I prefer to form my own opinions. Against my better judgment, I reach out and place my fingertips against his palm. The moment our skin connects, electricity shoots up my arm, and Kane's intake of breath tells me he feels it too. I try to focus on the cut, to call up the weak healing magic that's more intention than actual power. Warmth flows from somewhere deep in my chest, down my arm, and into my fingers. It's stronger than usual, more controlled, and I watch in amazement as Kane's cut begins to knit together, the edges pulling closed as if time is moving backward. But something else happens too. Images flash through my mind, not my memories but his. I see Elder Corwin speaking urgently to a figure shrouded in shadow. I see a ceremonial dagger with a bone handle. I see the real killer's face, twisted with rage and jealousy. I gasp and jerk my hand away, the connection severing abruptly. Kane's cut is completely healed, not even a scar remaining, and his eyes are wide with something that looks like awe. Impossible, he breathes. What just happened? My voice comes out as a whisper. I saw who really killed Elder Corwin. Kane's expression becomes predatory again, but not in a way that threatens me. In a way that promises retribution for whoever dared harm something he's claimed as his own. Which is ridiculous because he just met me, and I'm nothing special, and you're not nothing special, little wolf. His voice is rough with an emotion I can't identify. You're exactly what I've been searching for. Before I can ask what he means, a howl echoes through the forest, long, mournful, and definitely pursuing. The pack has sent trackers after me, probably to make sure I actually leave their territory. Or maybe to ensure I don't survive to tell anyone about the convenient way Elder Corwin's murder was solved. Kane tilts his head toward the sound, his expression darkening. It seems your former pack isn't content to simply exile you. Panic claws at my throat. I have to run. They'll kill me if they catch me.
No.
His voice carries an authority that makes my wolf want to submit, but in a way that feels safe rather than threatening. You're under my protection now. You can't protect me from an entire pack. You're just one wolf. Kane's smile turns razor-sharp, and power radiates from him in waves that make my knees weak. Am I? The temperature around us drops several degrees, and shadows seem to bend toward him, as if he's drawing them in. His eyes flash with an inner light that's definitely not human, and when he speaks again, his voice carries the unmistakable command of an alpha. But not just any alpha. This is the voice of an alpha who rules not just a pack, but multiple packs. This is the voice of someone so powerful that even other alphas bow to him. What are you? I whisper. Cain Ravencrest looks at me with those storm-gray eyes, and when he answers, my world shifts completely off its axis. I'm the Alpha King, Little Wolf, and you're my destined mate. Chapter 3. The Alpha King's Claim. The words hang in the air between us like a challenge to everything I thought I knew about my life. Alpha King. Destined mate. The concepts feel too large, too impossible for someone like me to grasp. That's not possible. I breathe, shaking my head so hard my vision blurs. I'm nobody. I'm weak, broken, exiled. I can't be anyone's mate, let alone the mate of the most powerful alpha in North America. Cain steps closer, and his presence is overwhelming, not crushing, but encompassing, like being wrapped in storm clouds and starlight. Tell me, Mira, what do you know about mate bonds? Another howl echoes through the forest, closer this time. My former packmates are closing in, and here I am having an impossible conversation with a man who claims to rule over all werewolves. I know they're rare, I say, glancing nervously toward the sound. I know most wolves never find their true mate. I know I was never supposed to. Look at me. The command in his voice compels obedience, and my eyes snap back to his face. What do you feel when you look at me? I want to lie, to deny the electricity that dances across my skin whenever he's near, the way my wolf perks up in his presence like she's finally found home. But the truth spills out anyway. Like I'm waking up from a dream I didn't know I was having. Something fierce and possessive flashes in Cain's storm-gray eyes. And when I touched you, when you healed my hand, heat floods my cheeks as I remember the visions, the impossible connection that let me see through his memories. I saw things. Your memories. The real killer. I swallow hard. It felt like our souls were touching. Because they were. He reaches out slowly, giving me time to pull away, but I don't. His fingers trace the line of my jaw with devastating gentleness. You're my mate, Mira Ashwood. My Luna. The other half of my soul that I've been searching for across 3 centuries. 3 centuries. The number hits me like a physical blow. You're over 300 years old? 347 next month. His thumb brushes across my lower lip, and I shiver at the contact. I was beginning to think the moon goddess had forgotten about me, that I was destined to rule alone forever. Then I caught your scent 2 weeks ago when I was passing through Shadowpine territory on other business. 2 weeks ago? I think back, trying to remember anything unusual. That's when Elder Corwin started acting strange. He kept talking about old prophecies, about the Luna who would unite the packs under one true king. Cain's expression sharpens. What exactly did he say? That she would be hidden in plain sight, her power dormant until awakened by her mate's touch. That she would be scorned by her birth pack, but destined to rule over them all. The words feel heavy with significance now, weighted with possibility I never dared consider. He said she would bear the mark of the first Luna. Show me your back. The request is so unexpected that I almost don't process it.
What?
Your back, between your shoulder blades. Show me. I twist around, pulling my torn shirt aside to expose the skin Cain wants to see. I hear his sharp intake of breath, feel the heat of his gaze like a physical touch. When his fingers trace a pattern on my back that I can't see, my entire body comes alive with sensation. A silver crescent moon, he murmurs, his voice rough with awe. Perfect and pure, like it was painted by moonlight itself. How long have you had this birthmark, Mira? Forever. Since birth. I shiver as his finger continues to trace the mark. My mother said it was a sign of the moon goddess's favor, but the pack healers always said it was just an unusual birthmark. Nothing special. Cain's laugh is low and rich, but there's an edge to it that speaks of barely restrained fury. Nothing special. They kept you hidden for over 2 decades, convinced you that you were weak when you carry the mark of the first Luna herself. I turn back to face him, my mind reeling. The first Luna is just a legend. The first Luna was my ancestor's mate. She united the warring packs, brought peace to our kind, and established the laws that still govern us today. When she died, The moon goddess decreed that her power would return in time of great need, reborn in a wolf who would restore balance to our world. The howls are getting closer, and I can hear the rustle of multiple bodies moving through the underbrush. Cain, we need to go, he agrees, but instead of running, he pulls out what looks like an ancient stone tablet from his jacket. But first, you need to understand what's happening here. Elder Corwin wasn't killed randomly. He was murdered because he recognized what you are and was trying to prepare you for your destiny. I stare at the tablet, its surface covered in symbols I can't read but somehow understand. The story unfolds in my mind like a movie. The first Luna's sacrifice, the prophecy of her return, the signs that would mark her chosen vessel. Everything points to me, the weak little wolf who couldn't even maintain pack bonds. Except I wasn't weak. I was suppressed. The pack bonds, I whisper, the pieces falling into place. They never felt right because they weren't my bonds to make. I was meant for something bigger. Cain's smile is fierce with pride. You were meant to be Luna to all packs, not just one. Your power was dormant because you hadn't met your mate, hadn't been awakened to your true nature. A branch cracks behind us, and the sound of paws on earth tells me my time is up. The Shadow Pine trackers have found us, and they're not coming to talk. Cain, stay behind me. His voice carries absolute authority, and power radiates from him in waves as he faces the direction of the approaching wolves. What happens next may frighten you, but remember, you're under my protection now. 3 wolves burst from the underbrush, their eyes gleaming with predatory intent. I recognize them even in their shifted forms. Beta Marcus leading the hunt, flanked by 2 of his most loyal enforcers. They slow when they see Cain, confusion flickering across their lupin features at the scent of an unknown alpha. Marcus shifts back to human form, his naked body radiating aggression. Step aside, stranger. We're here for the murderer. Cain doesn't move, doesn't even acknowledge Marcus's words. Instead, he lets his power unfurl like dark wings, and the temperature plummets. The trees around us creak and sway despite the absence of wind, and shadows gather at Cain's feet like living things. You will address me properly, Cain says, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. I am Cain Ravencrest, Alpha King of the North American territories. And you will show respect when you speak of my mate. The effect is immediate and devastating. Marcus drops to his knees, his head bowed in automatic submission to superior power. The other 2 wolves whimper and belly crawl backward, their bodies betraying their terror even as their minds struggle to process what they're facing. Alpha King, Marcus gasps, his voice strangled with fear. Forgive me, I didn't know. You didn't know because you were too busy railroading an innocent woman to pay attention to the truth. Cain's power presses down on them like a physical weight, and all 3 wolves flatten themselves against the ground. Tell me, Beta Marcus, what evidence did you actually have against Mira Ashwood? Her scent was all over the scene, Marcus whimpers. Her claws had blood, because she tried to save him. Cain's voice drops to a whisper that somehow carries more menace than any shout. Because she used her healing magic to try to preserve his life, while the real killer escaped. I watched this display of absolute dominance with growing amazement. This is what a true Alpha King looks like, not ruling through fear, but through such overwhelming power that resistance becomes impossible. Marcus and his wolves aren't just submitting, they're being rewritten at a cellular level, their wolves recognizing a superior predator and responding accordingly. The real killer, Marcus manages to ask through his submission. You know who it was? Cain looks back at me, and his expression softens just a fraction. Show him, little wolf. Show him what you saw when you healed my hand. I understand what he's asking. He wants me to use my newfound abilities to share the vision I experienced when our skin touched. The idea terrifies me. I've never used power like this before, but Cain's steady presence at my back gives me courage. I step forward and place my hand on Marcus's forehead. He flinches at the contact, but doesn't dare pull away from the Alpha King's mate. Power flows through me, stronger and more controlled than ever before, and suddenly the night Elder Corwin died plays out in vivid detail for all of us to see. We watch as someone Marcus trusts enters the sacred grove. We see the argument, the flash of a bone-handled dagger, Elder Corwin's shocked expression as his killer strikes. And when the vision shows the murderer's face clearly, Marcus's gasp of betrayal echoes through the forest. "Impossible," he whispers, but the evidence is undeniable. She couldn't. When the vision ends, I stagger back into Kane's arms, drained by the effort of sharing my power. But it was worth it to see the recognition in Marcus's eyes, the dawning horror as he realizes how badly he's been manipulated. "Return to your pack," Kane commands, his voice carrying the weight of absolute law. "Tell Alpha Thorn what you've learned. Tell him that Mira Ashwood is under my protection, and anyone who harms her will answer to me personally." Marcus nods frantically, scrambling to his feet. "Yes, Alpha King. Of course. We'll make this right." "You'll make nothing right," Kane cuts him off coldly. "The damage is done. But perhaps this will serve as a lesson about the dangers of rushing to judgment." As the three wolves retreat into the forest, tails tucked and spirits broken, I finally allow myself to process what just happened. In the space of one night, I've gone from exiled murderer to the destined mate of the most powerful alpha in existence. It's too much, too fast, and I feel like I'm drowning in possibilities I never dared imagine. "This is real," I whisper, more to myself than to Kane. "This is actually happening." He turns me in his arms, his hands cupping my face with infinite gentleness. "This is just the beginning, Luna. Your real life starts now." When he leans down to kiss me, I taste storm and starlight and the promise of a destiny I'm finally ready to claim. Chapter 4. The Rival's Betrayal. Kane's kiss tastes like coming home to a place I never knew I belonged, but the moment our lips part, reality crashes back with brutal force. The vision I shared with Marcus replays in my mind. Elder Corwin's killer wasn't some rogue or enemy pack member. It was someone I trusted, someone who smiled at me every day while planning my downfall. Lydia. I breathed the name like a curse, my stomach churning with betrayal. It was Lydia Thornfield. Kane's arms tighten around me protectively. "Tell me about her." "Alpha Thorn's daughter. My childhood friend until we grew up and she decided I wasn't worth her time anymore." I pull back to look at his face, seeing my own shock reflected in his storm gray eyes. "She's been the pack's unofficial Luna for years, everyone assuming she'd eventually mate with one of the alphas from a neighboring territory. She's beautiful, powerful, everything I'm not. Everything you thought you weren't," Kane corrects gently, his thumb brushing away a tear I didn't realize had fallen. "Why would she kill Elder Corwin?" I think back to the vision, to the argument I witnessed between them. He knew. Somehow, he figured out what I am before I did. He must have confronted her about it, told her that her dreams of being a Luna would never come true because the real Luna was already among them. Kane's expression darkens with murderous intent. "So she killed him and framed you, removing both obstacles to her ambitions in one stroke. She's probably back at the pack house right now, playing the grieving pack member while I'm labeled a killer." The injustice of it all hits me like a physical blow. How long has she been planning this? How long has she known what I am when I didn't even know myself? Some wolves are born with the ability to sense power in others, even dormant power. Kane's voice carries barely restrained fury. "She recognized your potential and decided to eliminate the threat before you could awaken to it." A cold wind sweeps through the forest, carrying with it the scent of snow and something else, something that makes my new wolf senses prickle with warning. Kane's head snaps up, his nostrils flaring as he catches the same scent. "We need to move," he says urgently.
"Now."
"What is it?" "Lydia. She's coming, and she's not alone." Before I can ask how he knows, the sound of approaching vehicles reaches us, engines growling through the forest, headlights cutting through the darkness like predatory eyes. They're not trying to be stealthy anymore. They're coming for a direct confrontation. Kane grabs my hand, his touch sending warmth and strength through me. "Can you shift?" "Not quickly enough." The admission burns, but it's the truth. My transformations have always been slow, painful, incomplete. I'll just slow you down. You're not slowing anyone down. His voice carries absolute conviction. Your power is awakening, Mira. Trust in that. Trust in yourself. The first SUV breaks through the tree, its headlights blinding us momentarily. More vehicles follow, at least for that I can see, filled with wolves whose scents I recognize. Shadow Pine Pack members, probably told they're hunting down a dangerous killer who's taken hostage by a rogue alpha. The lead vehicle's door slams, and Lydia Thornfield steps into the light. Even now, even knowing what she's done, I have to admit she's stunning. Golden hair that catches moonlight like spun silk, violet eyes that seem to glow with inner fire, a figure that makes every male wolf in 3 territories pant with desire. She moves with the confident grace of someone who's never doubted her own worth, never questioned her right to take whatever she wants. Mira, her voice carries perfectly pitched concern, the tone of a friend worried sick about someone she cares about. Thank the moon goddess you're safe. When we heard you'd been taken by this stranger, we were so worried. The performance is flawless. If I hadn't seen the truth in my vision, I might have actually believed her concern was genuine. Several pack members emerge from the other vehicles, their faces showing relief at finding me apparently unharmed. Let her go, Lydia calls to Kane, her voice carrying the authority of someone used to being obeyed. Whatever you want, whatever you think you'll gain by taking our Omega, it's not worth making an enemy of Shadow Pine Pack. Kane steps forward, and his presence seems to fill the entire clearing. The pack members instinctively retreat, their wolves recognizing superior power, even if their human minds don't understand what they're facing. I am Kane Ravencrest, he announces, his voice carrying across the space with supernatural clarity. Alpha King of the North American territories. And the woman you call Omega is my destined mate. The effect is immediate and dramatic. Most of the pack members drop to their knees in automatic submission, their wolves overwhelmed by the presence of the ultimate alpha. But Lydia remains standing, her violet eyes flashing with something that looks like rage. Impossible, she snarls, her perfect mask slipping for just a moment. She's nobody. She's weak, broken, barely even a real wolf. She can't be anyone's mate, let alone yours? Kane's voice carries deadly amusement. Is that what this is about, Lydia Thornfield? You killed Elder Corwin and framed an innocent woman because you couldn't accept that your ambitions would never come to pass. The silence that follows is deafening. The pack members look between Lydia and Kane with growing confusion, their loyalty to their Alpha's daughter warring with the absolute authority radiating from the Alpha King. You don't know what you're talking about, Lydia says, but her voice lacks its earlier confidence. Elder Corwin was killed by that murder you're protecting. The evidence. The evidence was planted, I say, stepping out from behind Kane. My voice is stronger than I expect, carrying authority I've never possessed before. I saw you do it, Lydia. I saw you argue with Elder Corwin in the sacred grove. I saw you kill him when he refused to stay silent about what I really am. You saw nothing. Lydia's composure cracks completely, revealing the jealous, vindictive woman beneath the beautiful exterior. You're a pathetic Omega who's deluded herself into thinking she's special. You're nothing. You've always been nothing. Power surges through me, responding to her words with a force that takes my breath away. The silver birthmark on my back burns with sudden heat, and every wolf in the clearing turns to stare at me with expressions of shock and awe. I'm the Luna you could never be, I say, and my voice carries the weight of absolute truth. I'm the mate of the Alpha King, the bearer of the first Luna's mark, the one prophesied to unite all packs under one true rule. Lydia's face twists with hate so pure it's almost physical. Prophecy, she spits. Elder Corwin filled your head with the same nonsense he tried to feed me. But prophecies can be changed. Destinies can be rewritten. She reaches behind her back, and when her hand reappears, it's holding the same bone-handled dagger I saw in my vision. The blade gleams with an oily, unnatural sheen that makes my skin crawl. A blade blessed by dark magic, Cain says, his voice deadly calm. Where did you get that, Lydia? From someone who understands that the old ways need to die, she hisses. Someone who knows that true power shouldn't be bound by ancient prophecies and bloodline marks. She lunges forward with supernatural speed, the cursed blade aimed straight at my heart. Time seems to slow as I watch death approaching, my newly awakened powers apparently useless in the face of actual violence. But Cain is faster. He intercepts Lydia's strike, his claws extending to catch the dagger's blade inches from my chest. Where the cursed metal touches his skin, smoke rises and his flesh burns, but he doesn't let go. Dark magic comes with a price, he growls through gritted teeth. Are you prepared to pay it? Lydia's answer is to twist the blade, sending more dark energy coursing through Cain's body. He staggers, but doesn't release his grip, his storm-gray eyes blazing with protective fury. Let him go. I scream, power erupting from me like a silver flame. The energy hits Lydia like a physical blow, sending her flying backward into one of the SUVs. The cursed dagger clatters to the ground, its blade now cracked and smoking. But as she struggles to her feet, I see something that makes my blood run cold. Her violet eyes have turned completely black, and when she speaks, her voice carries the echo of something ancient and malevolent. The old Luna is dead, she says, and it's not entirely her voice anymore. The new order rises. And you, little pretender, will burn in the ashes of your precious prophecy. Dark energy swirls around her like living smoke, and I realize with growing horror that Lydia isn't just a jealous pack member who made a deal with dark forces. She's been possessed by something far worse, something that's been planning this corruption for much longer than any of us realized. Cain, I whisper, reaching for him as he struggles to stay upright despite the dark magic burning through his system. What is that thing? His answer chills me to the bone. The shadow that seeks to unmake everything the first Luna built. And as Lydia, or the thing wearing her face, begins to laugh with voices that echo from the depths of nightmare, I understand that our real battle is just beginning. Chapter 5. The Shadow's Gambit. The darkness pouring from Lydia's possessed form spreads across the clearing like spilled ink, swallowing moonlight and hope in equal measure. The temperature plummets until our breath comes out in visible puffs, and the very air seems to thicken with malevolent energy. Cain staggers beside me, dark veins spreading up his arm from where the cursed blade touched him. His usual commanding presence wavers as the shadow magic works to corrupt his system, and I can see him fighting to maintain control of his wolf. The blade was just the beginning, Lydia says, but her voice now carries harmonics that human throats weren't meant to produce. A delivery system for something far more permanent. The pack members who came with her back away in terror, their wolves howling in distress at the unnatural presence that's taken over their alpha's daughter. Several shift involuntarily, their human forms unable to cope with the wrongness radiating from the possessed woman. What do you want? I demand, stepping in front of Cain protectively. Silver light flickers around my hands, not healing magic this time, but something else, something that makes the shadows recoil slightly. What I've always wanted, the shadow speaks through Lydia's mouth. To undo the first Luna's mistake. She bound our kind to laws of honor, compassion, unity. She made wolves weak. She made us civilized. Cain grits out through his pain. She prevented the endless wars that were destroying our species. Lydia's possessed form laughs, and the sound is like glass breaking in a tomb. Civilization is chains. I offer freedom. The freedom to take what you want, to rule through strength alone, to let the wolf nature reign supreme without the burden of human conscience. As she speaks, the shadows around her begin to take shape, twisted forms of wolves with too many teeth, eyes that burn like coals, fur that moves like liquid darkness. They're not real, not entirely, but they're solid enough to kill. The first Luna sealed me away 3 centuries ago, the shadow continues. But seals weaken over time, especially when fed by the right kind of hatred and ambition. Lydia Thornfield's jealousy was the perfect key to my prison. How long? I ask, pieces of a horrible puzzle falling into place. How long have you been influencing her? Since she was 16 and first realized she would never be chosen as Luna for her own pack. Lydia's violet eyes flicker between their natural color and absolute black. Since she watched you receive kindness she thought she deserved, attention she craved, hope she was denied. The revelation hits like a physical blow. Lydia's growing coldness toward me over the years, her increasing cruelty, her obsession with pack status, it wasn't just natural jealousy. She's been slowly corrupted by an ancient evil that fed on her resentment. You used her, I whisper. I gave her what she wanted: power, purpose, the chance to claim what she thought was rightfully hers. The Shadow's voice takes on a mocking tone. All she had to do was eliminate a few obstacles. Elder Corwin, who saw too much. You, who threatened her dreams. Eventually, the Alpha King himself, once I'd grown strong enough. Cain forces himself upright, power flaring around him despite the poison coursing through his veins. You think you can corrupt me the way you did her? I don't need to corrupt you. The Shadow replies with deadly confidence. I just need to kill your mate. Without her, you'll fall into the madness that claims all mateless alphas eventually. And when you do, when the Alpha King becomes a monster, the packs will tear themselves apart fighting for control. The Shadow Wolves begin to circle us, their movements fluid and predatory. Real or not, their claws look sharp enough to rend flesh, their teeth gleaming with supernatural hunger. The first Luna's power dies with her heir. The shadow continues through Lydia's mouth. The laws that bind our kind will crumble. The old chaos will return, and I will rule over the ashes of everything she built. Over my dead body, I snarl, and power erupts from me like a solar flare. Silver light blazes across the clearing, and where it touches the Shadow Wolves, they shriek and dissolve. But the effort leaves me drained, and I know I can't maintain that level of power for long. My abilities are growing stronger, but I'm still learning to control them. The Shadow seems to sense my limitations. Impressive for an untrained whelp. But power without knowledge is just noise. Lydia raises her hand, and dark energy gathers in her palm like a miniature storm. When she releases it, the bolt of shadow magic tears through the air straight toward my heart. Cain throws himself between us, taking the blast full in the chest. The impact sends him flying backward, his body hitting a tree with a sickening crack. He slumps to the ground, unconscious, dark veins now spreading across his face and neck. Cain! I drop to my knees beside him, pressing my hands to his chest. His heartbeat is erratic, weakening with each pulse as the shadow magic works to stop it entirely. Touching, the Shadow says with false sympathy. The mighty Alpha King, brought low by love. How perfectly pathetic. Rage builds in my chest, hotter and brighter than anything I've ever felt. This thing has poisoned my mate, murdered an innocent elder, corrupted someone who was once my friend. It thinks it can destroy everything the first Luna built, everything Cain has protected, everything I'm meant to become. It's wrong. You want to see what untrained power looks like? I ask, my voice carrying an authority that makes every wolf in the clearing, possessed or not, take notice. Let me show you. I place both hands on Cain's chest and let my power flow freely for the first time in my life. Not the careful, controlled healing I've always attempted, but the full force of what I was born to be. Silver light pours from my hands, from the birthmark on my back, from my very soul. The power doesn't just heal Cain's wounds, it burns away the shadow magic like sunlight banishing darkness. His heartbeat strengthens, the dark veins fade, and his storm-gray eyes snap open with their usual intensity. But the healing is just the beginning. The power keeps flowing, spreading outward from where we touch, creating a barrier of pure light that the shadows can't cross. I feel connected to every wolf in the clearing, can sense their fear, their confusion, their desperate need for guidance. I am Luna, I say, and my voice carries across dimensions, reaching not just the wolves present, but every member of every pack within 100 miles. I am the heir to the first Luna's power, the mate of the Alpha King, the guardian of the laws that keep us whole. The silver light reaches Lydia, and where it touches her, she screams. Not the possessed harmony of voices, but her own voice, human and terrified and in agony. Fight it, I call to her, pouring healing energy toward the corruption eating at her soul. You're stronger than this thing. You don't have to be its puppet. For a moment, her violet eyes clear completely, and I see the girl I once called friend looking back at me with desperate hope. Mira, she gasps. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Twisted everything, made me hate you when I should have. But the shadow isn't finished with her yet. Darkness surges through her body like poison, and when she speaks again, it's with the ancient evil's voice. Fool child, you think your light can unmake centuries of careful planning? I am eternal. I am inevitable. And I am far from finished. Lydia's form begins to change, her human shape stretching and warping as the shadow pours more of its essence into her. Her fingers become claws, her teeth elongate into fangs, her violet eyes burn with hellfire. She's becoming something that's neither human nor wolf, but a creature of pure malevolence. If I cannot corrupt the Alpha King through his mate, the shadow hisses through Lydia's transformed mouth, then I'll simply destroy them both and start fresh with a more malleable ruler. Cain rises to his feet beside me, his power fully restored and burning with protective fury. You picked the wrong mate to threaten. And you picked the wrong Luna to underestimate. I add, silver fire dancing around my clenched fists. The transformed Lydia laughs, a sound like breaking bones and dying screams. Then let us see if the legendary bond between Alpha King and Luna is strong enough to survive what comes next. She launches herself at us with inhuman speed, claws extended and darkness pouring from her like blood from a wound. But this time, Cain and I move together, our powers merging into something greater than the sum of its parts. Storm gray lightning meets silver flame, and where they combine, something new is born, a weapon of pure unity that cuts through shadow like it's made of paper. The battle for the future of all werewolves has truly begun, and will either triumph together or fall as one. Chapter 6. The Unity of Light and Storm. The weapon Cain and I create together defies everything I thought I knew about werewolf magic. Where his storm gray lightning meets my silver fire, reality itself seems to bend, creating something that exists in the space between elements, not quite light, not quite energy, but pure unified will made manifest. The transformed Lydia hits our combined power and screams, her monstrous form recoiling as if burned by acid. The shadow's essence writhes within her, seeking escape from the purity of our bond, but finding no refuge in her corrupted flesh. Impossible, the ancient evil hisses through her fanged mouth. No bond is that strong. No unity that complete. You wouldn't understand, Cain says, his voice harmonizing with mine in a way that sends shivers down my spine. You've spent centuries dividing, corrupting, turning wolves against each other. You've forgotten what true partnership looks like. I feel it too, this perfect synchronization of our souls that goes beyond physical attraction or even emotional connection. Our wolves recognize each other not just as mates, but as two halves of something that was always meant to be whole. The first Luna and her Alpha King must have shared this same bond, this same unity that makes us stronger together than we could ever be apart. The pack members watching from the edges of the clearing begin to feel it too. I can sense their confusion giving way to awe, their fear transforming into hope as they witness something they've only heard about in legends. The true bond between Alpha King and Luna, the partnership that built the laws governing all werewolf kind. This is what you're trying to destroy, I say to the shadow, letting my voice carry to every wolf present. Not just laws or traditions, but the very thing that makes us more than animals. The choice to be better, to work together, to protect rather than prey upon. The shadow responds by pouring more of its essence into Lydia's form, making her grow larger, more monstrous, further from anything resembling the woman she once was. But I can see the strain it's causing, maintaining control over a host while fighting our combined power is burning through its reserves quickly. You cannot sustain this, The ancient evil snarls. I am eternal. You are mortal. Time favors the patient. Time favors the prepared, a new voice says from the edge of the clearing. An elderly woman steps into the light, her silver hair gleaming like moonbeams and her eyes holding depths that speak of centuries of accumulated wisdom. She moves with the careful grace of age, but power radiates from her in waves that make every wolf present straighten with respect. Elder grandmother, Cain breathes, and I hear relief in his voice. I was wondering when you'd arrive. Elder grandmother? I look between them in confusion. The oldest of our kind, Cain explains without taking his eyes off the transformed Lydia. The keeper of the old knowledge, the one who taught me about the prophecies. She's been searching for you almost as long as I have. The elderly woman, elder grandmother, nods to me with approval. Luna, you've awakened beautifully, child. Your power burns pure and true, just as the first Lunas did. Can you help us? I ask, struggling to maintain our defensive barrier as the shadow gathers itself for another assault. I can do better than that, she says with a smile that's equal parts warmth and steel. I can teach you how to use what you've already created. She begins to speak in the old tongue, words that predate human language, sounds that resonate in the wolf's soul rather than human ears. As her chant builds, I feel our combined power shifting, focusing, becoming something more precise than the raw energy we've been wielding. The shadow feeds on division, elder grandmother explains, her voice somehow carrying over her own chanting. Jealousy, hatred, the spaces between hearts. But unity starves it. True partnership is poison to its very essence. Understanding floods through me like revelation. We're not trying to destroy it. We're trying to cut off its food source. Exactly. And what feeds unity, Luna? The answer comes from some deep place in my newly awakened consciousness.
Love.
Trust. The willingness to be vulnerable with another soul. Cain's hand finds mine, our fingers interlacing as our power synchronizes even more perfectly. I feel his fears, centuries of loneliness, the weight of ruling alone, the terror of losing me before our bond is complete. And he feels mine, a lifetime of believing I was worthless, the fear that I'm not strong enough for what's expected of me, the desperate need to prove I deserve this destiny. But instead of weakening us, sharing these vulnerabilities makes us stronger. The shadow has no purchase on hearts that hide nothing from each other, no way to twist insecurities that have been acknowledged and accepted by our partner. Our combined power flares brighter, and this time when it strikes the transformed Lydia, she doesn't just recoil, she staggers, her monstrous form beginning to shrink back towards something resembling human. No, the shadow howls through her mouth. I will not be banished again. I will not return to that cold prison between worlds. You're not returning to prison, I say, finally understanding what elder grandmother has been trying to teach us. You're being unmade, starved out of existence by the very unity you tried to destroy. The ancient evil's response is pure rage, a psychic scream that sends every wolf in the clearing to their knees. But Cain and I remain standing, protected by our bond, grounded by our connection to each other and to the pack bonds spreading outward from our unified souls. If I cannot have victory, the shadow snarls, then I will have revenge. Instead of attacking us, it turns its fury on the pack members still clustered around the vehicles. Dark energy lashes out like whips, seeking to corrupt, to turn wolves against each other, to create the division and chaos it needs to survive. But the energy never reaches them. Our bond has created something unprecedented, a network of light that connects every wolf in the clearing to our unified power. The pack members don't just witness our partnership, they participate in it, their own bonds to each other strengthened by proximity to true Luna energy. You have no power here, Cain says, his voice carrying the absolute authority of an alpha king backed by his true mate. Your time is over. The shadow makes one last desperate attempt, trying to abandon Lydia's failing form and leap into one of the other wolves present. But there's nowhere for it to go. Every soul in the clearing is protected by our light, connected to our bond, part of the greater unity we've created. With a final shriek of defeat, the ancient evil dissolves like smoke in sunlight, its essence scattered to winds that will carry it too far and too thin to ever reform. Lydia collapses to her knees, her body returned to its natural human form, but her violet eyes filled with the weight of everything she's done under the shadow's influence. Tears stream down her face as she looks at the destruction around her, at the fear in her packmate's eyes, at the blood on her hands that will never wash clean. "I remember everything," she whispers, her voice broken with anguish. "Every cruel word, every act of violence, every moment I chose hatred over love. The shadow didn't make me do those things, it just amplified what was already there." The clearing falls silent except for the sound of her weeping. Some of the pack members look like they want to comfort her, others like they want to tear her apart for what she's done. The shadow may be gone, but the damage it caused through her actions remains. "Lydia," I say, stepping away from Kane to kneel beside the woman who was once my friend. She flinches away from my touch. "Don't. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I killed Elder Corwin. I tried to kill you. I nearly destroyed everything good in this pack because I was too weak to resist my own jealousy. The shadow targeted you precisely because you weren't weak," I tell her gently. "It needed someone with real power, real intelligence, real passion. Someone whose corruption would matter. That doesn't excuse what I did." "No, I agree. It doesn't. But understanding why it happened might help prevent it from happening again." I extend my hand to her, palm up, offering healing if she'll accept it. Not just for her physical wounds, but for the spiritual damage the shadow's possession has left behind. "The choice is yours," I say. "You can let the guilt consume you, or you can choose to become something better than what the darkness made you." For a long moment, she stares at my offered hand like it might burn her. Then, slowly, she reaches out and places her palm against mine. The healing that flows between us is different from what I shared with Kane, gentler, more complex, requiring delicate work to separate corruption from genuine emotion, shadow influence from authentic feeling. But when it's done, Lydia's eyes are clear for the first time in years. "Thank you," she whispers. "I'll spend the rest of my life trying to earn the forgiveness I don't deserve." "Start by helping us make sure nothing like this ever happens again," Kane says, offering his own hand to help her stand. "The shadow may be gone, but the conditions that allowed it to influence you still exist. Jealousy, resentment, the belief that power is something to be taken rather than earned." As we help Lydia to her feet, I feel the full weight of what we've accomplished settling over me. We haven't just defeated an ancient evil, we've proven that the bond between Alpha King and Luna can create something stronger than the sum of its parts. We've shown that unity really can overcome division, that love really is more powerful than hate. But even as the pack members begin to approach us with awe and respect in their eyes, I know this is just the beginning. Word of tonight's events will spread throughout the werewolf world. Some will see our bond as hope for a new golden age. Others will see it as a threat to their own ambitions. The real test of our partnership is still to come. Chapter 7. The Crown's True Weight. 3 days after the Shadow's defeat, I stand in the great hall of Kane's stronghold, a fortress carved into the heart of the Rocky Mountains that serves as the seat of power for all North American werewolf territories. The ancient stone walls are lined with banners representing dozens of packs, each one sworn to the Alpha King's authority. The sight should fill me with pride, but instead, it makes my stomach churn with anxiety. "You're nervous," Kane observes, appearing beside me with that silent grace that still catches me off guard. He's dressed in formal attire, black leather and silver that speaks of both tradition and power, preparing for the ceremony that will officially recognize me as Luna Queen. Terrified, I correct, smoothing down the silver silk gown elder grandmother insisted I wear. The fabric seems to shimmer with its own inner light, and the moment I put it on, I felt the weight of centuries pressing against my shoulders. What if I'm not ready for this? What if the pack leaders refuse to accept me? Kane's hands settle on my waist, and immediately some of the tension bleeds out of my muscles. Our bond has only grown stronger over the past few days, the constant awareness of his presence becoming as natural as breathing. Some will refuse, he says honestly. Change is never easy, especially for those who've grown comfortable with the current power structure. But others will see what I see, a Luna whose power burns pure, whose heart seeks unity over dominion. Through the tall windows, I can see the representatives arriving. Alpha leaders from across the continent, their entourages filling the courtyard with a rainbow of pack colors and the complex symphony of dozens of different scents. Some I recognize from stories Kane has told me, progressive leaders who've been pushing for greater cooperation between territories. Others are complete unknowns, their body language suggesting skepticism or outright hostility. Tell me about Alpha Cassius again, I say, nodding toward a particularly imposing figure stepping from a black limousine. Even from this distance, his arrogance is visible in every line of his posture. Kane's expression darkens. Cassius Blackthorn rules the Southern Coalition. Old bloodline, older attitudes. He believes strength should be the only measure of worth, that mercy is weakness, that the strong are meant to rule over the weak without constraint. Everything the First Luna fought against. Exactly. He's been building alliances with like-minded alphas for years, waiting for an opportunity to challenge my authority. Your awakening gives him the perfect excuse. Before I can ask what he means, Elder Grandmother appears in the doorway, her silver hair braided with moonstone beads that catch the light like captured starfire. It's time, Luna. The pack leaders are assembled. My hands shake as Kane offers me his arm. Through our bond, I feel his steady confidence, his unwavering belief in my ability to handle whatever comes next. It helps, but not enough to completely calm the storm of butterflies in my stomach. We enter the Great Hall together, and conversation dies like someone has thrown a switch. 57 alpha leaders and their chosen representatives turn to stare at us with expressions ranging from curiosity to calculation to barely concealed hostility. The weight of their collective judgment presses against me like a physical force. Kane leads me to the dais at the far end of the hall, where two thrones wait, his carved from black stone and inlaid with silver, mine slightly smaller but no less magnificent, crafted from white marble shot through with veins of pure silver. I've never sat on a throne before, and the symbolism feels overwhelming. Alpha leaders of the North American territories, Kane's voice carries easily through the vast space, enhanced by the acoustics designed into the ancient stone. I present to you Mira Ashwood, bearer of the First Luna's mark, my destined mate, and your Luna Queen. The silence that follows is deafening. Some of the alphas bow their heads in respect, but others remain standing, their expressions skeptical or outright defiant. Alpha Cassius takes a step forward, his dark eyes fixed on me with the intensity of a predator evaluating prey. With respect, Alpha King. His voice is deep and smooth, carrying the kind of authority that comes from never being questioned. We require more than bloodline marks and claimed destiny. We require proof. What kind of proof? I ask, finding my voice despite the fear trying to choke me. Cassius's smile is sharp as a blade. The same proof the First Luna provided when she united the warring packs. Demonstration of power sufficient to enforce unity among wolves who have no interest in submission. Murmurs ripple through the assembled leaders. Some sound approving, others concerned. I catch fragments of whispered conversations, challenging already, unprecedented. Should have expected this. You're asking me to fight, I say, understanding dawning like ice water in my veins. I'm asking you to prove you deserve the crown you claim. Cassius spreads his hands, as if the request is perfectly reasonable. The First Luna didn't simply appear and declare herself ruler. She demonstrated that her power was sufficient to bring order to chaos, to make the strong respect her authority. Kane's anger radiates through our bond like heat from a forge. The First Luna faced genuine threats to all werewolf kind. You're manufacturing conflict to serve your own political ambitions. Am I? Cassius looks around the hall, and I can see other alphas nodding slightly at his words. Look around you, Alpha King. Half the territories are feuding with each other over resources, borders, mating rights. Young wolves are abandoning their packs to become rogues rather than submit to leadership they see as weak. The humans grow more suspicious of our kind every year, developing new technologies that threaten our secrecy. Each point he makes lands like a physical blow because they're not entirely wrong. Kane has told me about these problems, the challenges that grow harder to manage every year as the werewolf population expands and old solutions prove inadequate for new realities. We need a Luna who can solve these problems, Cassius continues, his voice gaining strength as he sees other alphas responding to his arguments. Not one who simply carries the right birthmark and shares the Alpha King's bed. The insult sends fury blazing through me, but before I can respond, another voice cuts through the tension. And what exactly are you proposing? Alpha Helena Moonfong steps forward, her silver hair and regal bearing marking her as leader of the Northwestern Territories. Unlike Cassius, her expression shows genuine curiosity rather than hostility. Trial by ordeal, Cassius says, his eyes never leaving mine. Let her face the same tests the first Luna endured. Prove she can unite divided packs, solve seemingly impossible conflicts, demonstrate wisdom and power in equal measure. That's enough. Kane's voice carries the full weight of his authority, and several alphas take an involuntary step backward. I won't have my mate subjected to manufactured trials designed to satisfy your political ambitions. But even as he speaks in my defense, I can feel doubt creeping through some of the assembled leaders. Not doubt about Kane's power, that's unquestioned, but doubt about whether I truly deserve to stand beside him as an equal partner rather than simply a favored mate. The distinction matters more than I initially realized. A Luna Queen isn't just the Alpha King's romantic partner, she's expected to be a co-ruler, capable of making decisions that affect millions of werewolves across the continent. These alphas aren't just questioning my worthiness for Kane's affections, they're questioning my ability to help govern their people. It's all right, I say, my voice carrying farther than I expected. The hall falls silent again, every eye fixed on me with renewed attention. I'll accept the trials. Mira. Kane's voice carries warning, but I can feel his pride through our bond too. He knows why I'm doing this, understands that earning their respect is more important than protecting my feelings. If the pack leaders need proof that I'm worthy to stand as Luna Queen, then I'll provide it. I rise from the throne I haven't even officially claimed yet, drawing on every ounce of confidence I can muster. But I have conditions. Cassius's eyebrows rise in surprise. You're hardly in a position to make demands, aren't I? I let power flow through my voice, not threatening but unmistakably present. I'm the one being asked to prove myself. That gives me the right to set the terms of that proof. For the first time since entering the hall, I see approval in some of the Alpha's expressions. Alpha Helena actually smiles, and several others nod appreciatively at my show of backbone. Name your conditions, Cassius says after a moment. First, these trials must be real challenges facing our people, not artificial tests designed to make me fail. If I'm going to prove my worthiness to lead, let it be by actually solving problems that need solving. More nods around the hall. Even Cassius can't argue with the logic of that. Second, success or failure will be judged by all pack leaders present, not just those who support or oppose my claim. Majority vote determines the outcome. Reasonable, Alpha Helena says before Cassius can object. And third, I take a deep breath, knowing this next condition will surprise them all. If I fail any trial, I'll step aside voluntarily. I won't cling to a position I haven't earned or ask Kane to enforce my authority through strength alone. The shocked silence that follows tells me I've said something unexpected. Through our bond, I feel Kane's mixture of pride and terror at my willingness to risk everything on my own abilities. You would give up your mate bond? Alpha Cassius asks, genuine surprise replacing his earlier smugness. The mate bond exists regardless of political titles, I say firmly. I'm offering to relinquish any claim to the Luna Queen title and the authority that comes with it. Kane and I will still be mates, but I won't try to co-rule if I can't prove I deserve that responsibility. The distinction is important, and I can see understanding dawning in many faces. I'm not rejecting Kane or our relationship. I'm separating personal bonds from political authority, something that shows wisdom and restraint. Very well, Cassius says after a long moment. 3 trials, real challenges, judged by majority vote. If you succeed, you'll have my full support as Luna Queen. If I fail, I'll step aside gracefully and support whatever decision the pack leaders make about future governance structure. Cain steps beside me, his hand finding mine. Then it's settled. What challenges do you propose? Alpha Helena speaks first. The rogue crisis. 3 packs in my territory have lost a combined total of 47 young wolves to rogue status in the past 6 months. Traditional methods of retrieval have failed. If Mira can find a way to bring them home safely and address the root causes driving them away, that would demonstrate real leadership. Accepted, I say immediately, though my heart hammers at the magnitude of the challenge. The human investigation, says Alpha Marcus Dark River from the Eastern Territories. Government agents are getting too close to discovering our existence. Several pack members have reported surveillance, and there have been unexplained disappearances near our borders. We need a solution that protects our secrecy without escalating to violence. Another nod from me, though this challenge feels even more daunting than the first. The blood feud, Cassius says, his smile sharp and predatory. The Silver Moon and Ironwood packs have been at each other's throats for 3 generations over a territorial dispute that's claimed 17 lives. Multiple Alpha Kings have tried to resolve it through negotiation, force, and everything in between. Nothing has worked. The weight of 3 centuries of failure settles on my shoulders. And if I can resolve all 3, then you'll have my acknowledgement that you truly are the Luna our people need, Cassius says. You'll have proven that your power extends beyond flashy light shows to actual governance. I look around the hall one more time, seeing the mixture of hope and skepticism in 57 pairs of eyes. These are the leaders of my people, proud, strong, protective of their packs, and suspicious of change. Earning their respect won't be easy, but it's necessary if I want to truly serve as their Luna Queen. How long do I have? I ask. 1 month, Cassius says. 30 days to solve 3 problems that have resisted solution for years or decades. Cain's grip on my hand tightens, but through our bond one feel his confidence in my abilities. He believes I can do this, and that faith gives me strength. 30 days, I agree. Starting tomorrow. As the pack leaders begin to disperse, already deep in discussion about what they've witnessed, I realize that my real trials are just beginning. Defeating an ancient evil was one thing. Learning to rule over proud, independent alphas who've governed themselves for centuries will be something else entirely. But I'm the Luna, and it's time I started acting like it. Chapter 8. The Lost Children. The abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Seattle reeks of desperation, unwashed bodies, and the sharp tang of fear sweat that comes from young wolves living on the edge of survival. Cain and I approach the building under cover of darkness, our enhanced senses picking up at least 15 different scents, all of them belonging to wolves barely out of their teens. Remember, Cain murmurs as we pause outside the rusted metal door, they've been conditioned to see pack authority as the enemy. Coming at them with traditional alpha dominance will only make them run. I nod, trying to calm my racing heart. 3 days into my first trial, and I'm about to face a group of wolves who've rejected everything I represent. According to Alpha Helena's intelligence, these rogues have been living rough for months, surviving through petty theft and the kindness of strangers, united only by their shared rejection of pack life. What made them leave? I ask, though I've read the reports. Sometimes hearing it from Cain helps clarify the emotional undercurrents that official documents miss. Different reasons for each, but common themes. Arranged matings they didn't want, pack roles they felt trapped in, punishment for questioning outdated traditions. Cain's expression is grim. The youngest is barely 17. She ran away rather than accept a mating bond with a male twice her age who her parents chose for political alliance. The familiar taste of injustice floods my mouth. How many times have I felt trapped by expectations I didn't choose, silenced by traditions that served others' interests more than my own? These young wolves aren't just rogues. They're refugees from a system that prioritizes pack stability over individual happiness. They're not the enemy, I say, understanding crystallizing in my mind. They're symptoms of a problem we need to fix. Kane's smile is proud and warm. Now you're thinking like a Luna. I take a deep breath and push open the warehouse door. The hinges shriek in protest, and immediately every conversation inside stops. 15 pairs of eyes turn toward us, most already calculating escape routes. The wolves range in age from 17 to maybe 25, their clothes patched and dirty, their faces bearing the hollow look of people who've been hungry for too long. Stay back. A young man with sandy hair and defiant amber eyes steps forward, positioning himself between us and the others. His protective instincts are strong, even toward wolves who aren't technically his pack. We don't want any trouble. Neither do we, I say, keeping my voice gentle and non-threatening. My name is Mira. This is Kane. We're here to listen, not to force anyone to do anything they don't want to do. A girl who can't be older than 18 laughs bitterly from her perch on a stack of moldy cardboard boxes.
Right.
Like we haven't heard that before. Come home. Everything will be different, we promise. Her dark hair falls across her face, but I can see the pain in her brown eyes. How stupid do you think we are? Smart enough to survive on your own for months, I answer honestly. Smart enough to find each other and create your own support system. Smart enough to recognize that the promises adults make aren't always kept. The admission surprises them. Several wolves exchange glances, and I can see their defensive postures relaxing slightly. They'd been prepared for demands, threats, or false reassurances. Honest acknowledgement of their intelligence and justified distrust catches them off guard. So, what do you want? Asks the sandy-haired young man, Derek, according to Helena's files. If you're not here to drag us back, why are you here at all? Because the system that drove you away is broken, Kane says, his usual commanding presence dialed back to something more approachable. And we can't fix it without understanding what went wrong. I move further into the warehouse, careful to keep my movements slow and non-threatening. Will you tell us your stories? Not so we can judge or fix or change anything, but so we can understand what needs to be different. For a long moment, silence stretches between us. Then the youngest, a girl with silver blonde hair and enormous green eyes, speaks up in a voice barely above a whisper. They wanted me to mate with Alpha Garrett's son. Said it would strengthen ties between our packs. Her hands shake as she talks. I told them I wasn't ready, that I wanted to finish school first, maybe see something of the world before settling down. They said wolves don't get to choose their own paths, that pack needs come first. How old are you? I ask gently. 17. She looks even younger, fragile in a way that makes my protective instincts flare. My parents said if I didn't agree to the mating ceremony by my 18th birthday, they'd disown me. So I left before they could. The casual cruelty of it takes my breath away. A child, because 17 is still a child, no matter what pack law says, forced to choose between her autonomy and her family. And she's not the only one. Derek tells us about being forced into enforcer training when he wanted to become a teacher. A girl named Luna, the irony of her name isn't lost on me, describes being punished for questioning why females weren't allowed to participate in pack governance. One by one, they share stories of dreams deferred, choices stolen, identities crushed under the weight of tradition. The worst part, says Marcus, not the beta who once hunted me, but a 20-year-old with artist's hands and sad blue eyes, is that when we tried to talk about it, they acted like we were being selfish. Like wanting basic dignity and choice was somehow betraying our wolves. I feel Kane's controlled anger through our bond, his frustration with a system he's inherited but hasn't yet figured out how to change. These aren't rebellious teenagers acting out. They're young adults whose basic autonomy has been systematically denied. What would it take? I ask. Not to come back necessarily, but to feel like pack life could be something you'd choose rather than something you're trapped in? The question sparks an immediate discussion among the rogues. They've clearly talked about this before, dreamed about what a better system might look like. Their ideas are thoughtful, practical, and heartbreakingly reasonable. Choice in mating bonds, says the 17-year-old immediately. No arranged marriages, no pressure to mate for political reasons. If two wolves choose each other, great. If not, that's okay too. Career freedom, Derek adds. Just because someone's born into a warrior family doesn't mean they have to be a warrior. Let people find where their talents actually lie. Representation. Luna says firmly. If decisions affect the whole pack should have a voice. Not just alphas and their chosen advisors. Education, says Marcus. Access to human schools, universities, training programs. We don't have to be isolated from the human world to maintain our secrecy. Each suggestion makes perfect sense, and I can see Kane mentally cataloging them for future implementation. But there's still the immediate problem of 15 young wolves living in dangerous conditions, slowly wasting away from poor nutrition, and the psychological strain of pack bond severance. Here's what I propose. I say, an idea forming as I speak. What if we created something new? Not a traditional pack with all the restrictions you've rejected, but not rogue life either. A community where young wolves can transition to independence at their own pace, with support, but without coercion. Like what? Derek asks, though I can see hope flickering in his eyes. A halfway house for werewolves, Kane says, understanding immediately where my thoughts are leading. Somewhere safe to live while you figure out what you actually want from life. Education opportunities, job training, counseling to help process the trauma of pack rejection. And when you're ready, if you're ready, assistance in finding packs that align with your values. Or starting your own, I add. There's no law that says new packs can't be formed around shared principles rather than just territorial control. The silence that follows is different from before, not defensive, but thoughtful. I can practically see the wheels turning in 15 bright minds as they consider possibilities they'd never been offered before. You're serious? The 17-year-old asks. You'd really create something like that? We'd do more than create it, I say, certainty flooding through me. We'd fund it, staff it with people who understand what you've been through, and guarantee that participation is completely voluntary. No pressure to return to your birth packs, no judgment for choosing a different path. But also, Kane adds, support if you do decide you want to work within the pack system to change it from the inside. Some of the most effective reformers are people who've seen both sides. Derek steps closer, his amber eyes bright with something I haven't seen since we arrived. Hope. When would this happen? And where? Soon. I promise, though I'm still working out the details in my head. And wherever you think would work best. This is your refuge we're talking about. You should have a say in how it's structured. Over the next hour, we hash out the basics of what would become the first-ever Werewolf Transition Center. The rogues contribute ideas born from their lived experience, while Kane and I provide the resources and political connections needed to make it reality. By the time we're ready to leave, we have the framework for something unprecedented in werewolf society. One more thing, I say as we prepare to go. I want all of you to know that what you've done, questioning unjust systems, choosing your own paths despite the cost, that takes courage. You're not failures or rebels or problems to be solved. You're pioneers. As we walk back to our vehicle, Kane takes my hand and squeezes gently. That was brilliant, he says. You didn't try to force them back into a broken system. You acknowledged the problems and offered to build something better. It's what they deserved, I say simply. What all young wolves deserve, the chance to choose their own destinies. Through our bond, I feel his pride and love, but also his excitement about the broader implications of what we've started. The Transition Center won't just help these 15 rogues, it will serve as a model for reform throughout the werewolf world. Alpha Helena is going to be impressed, Kane says as we drive back toward pack territory. You've addressed both the immediate crisis and the root causes that created it. One trial down, I murmur, already thinking about the challenges ahead. 2 to go. But for the first time since accepting Cassius's challenge, I feel like I might actually succeed. Not because I have overwhelming power or ancient authority, but because I'm finally learning to think like a Luna, not someone who rules over others, but someone who serves them by creating the conditions for them to thrive. The young rogues have taught me something invaluable, Sometimes the best way to solve a problem isn't to fix what's broken, but to build something entirely new. Chapter 9. Dancing with Shadows. The government facility in rural Virginia looks innocuous enough from the outside, a cluster of modern buildings surrounded by high fences and security cameras, officially designated as a wildlife research station. But the scents Kane and I pick up as we approach tell a different story entirely. Too much steel and concrete, too many humans with the sharp chemical tang that comes from constant stress, and underneath it all, the faint but unmistakable musk of werewolf. 3 pack members confirmed missing, Kane murmurs as we observe from the treeline. All taken within 50 miles of this location over the past month. Dr. Sarah Chen, no relation to the Mrs. Chun who taught me to bake in Shadowpine, adjusts her thick-rimmed glasses and checks her tablet one more time. She's our inside contact, a human scientist who stumbled onto the werewolf secret 5 years ago and chose to help rather than expose us. Her security clearance and reputation in the scientific community make her invaluable for situations like this. The official research focus is on unusual wildlife migration patterns, Sarah explains, her voice barely above a whisper. But I've seen the requisition orders. Tranquilizer guns designed for large predators, reinforced containment units, medical equipment that suggests they're planning to study living specimens rather than just behavioral data. My stomach turns at the implications. Werewolves captured and caged like animals, subjected to medical experiments by humans who see us as anomalies to be studied rather than people to be respected. It's every pack's worst nightmare made manifest. How do we get them out without exposing our entire species? I ask, the weight of the second trial pressing down on me like a physical force. Very carefully, Kane says, his storm gray eyes fixed on the facility's main building. Sarah, what can you tell us about the security protocols? Motion sensors around the perimeter, but they're calibrated for human-sized intrusion. Guards work 12-hour shifts with overlapping patrols. The real problem is Dr. Marcus Webb. He's the project lead, and he's obsessed with proving the existence of cryptid species in North America. Through our bond, I feel Kane's controlled fury at the clinical way humans discuss our people. But I also sense his respect for my insistence that we resolve this without violence. The old way would be to simply overwhelm the facility with superior force, rescue our people, and eliminate any humans who'd seen too much. But that approach creates more problems than it solves, potentially exposing all werewolves to government scrutiny. What's Dr. Webb's weakness? I ask, an idea beginning to form. Sarah looks surprised by the question. His weakness? Everyone has one. What does he want more than anything else? What would make him willing to abandon this project voluntarily? Recognition, I suppose. He's been chasing cryptid research for 15 years, published dozens of papers that the scientific community largely ignores. This project is his chance to prove he's not just a fringe researcher. Then we give him something better, I say, the plan crystallizing in my mind. Something that will make him more famous than capturing werewolves ever could. Kane raises an eyebrow. What did you have in mind? A controlled revelation. Not of our existence, but of something else. Something that will redirect his obsession toward a discovery that won't threaten our people. Over the next hour, we work out the details. Sarah will use her access to plant evidence of an archaeological discovery, remains of a previously unknown extinct species that explains the unusual wildlife activity Webb has been investigating. Meanwhile, Kane and I will infiltrate the facility during the shift change, locate our captured pack members, and extract them while security is focused on the archaeological site Sarah will discover. The timeline has to be perfect, Sarah warns as we prepare to move. Webb is scheduled to review the containment units at midnight. If you're going to get your people out, it has to be before then. We synchronize our watches and split up. Sarah heads back into the facility through the main entrance, while Kane and I circle around to approach from the blind spot she identified in the camera coverage. My heart hammers against my ribs as we move through the darkness, every sense hyper-aware of potential threats. The fence is 15 feet of chain link topped with razor wire, but Kane's enhanced strength makes quick work of creating an opening. We slip through like ghosts, our werewolf abilities allowing us to move in complete silence across the manicured grounds. Building 3. Kane whispers as we approach the structure where our people are being held. Sarah's intel suggests they're in the basement level. The service entrance she mentioned is exactly where she said it would be, secured by a keycard reader that yields to Kane's claws and some creative electronics work. The door opens onto a sterile hallway that reeks of disinfectant and fierce sweat. Following the scent trail, we descend 2 flights of stairs to the basement level. The stench of captivity grows stronger with each step. Our people have been here for days or weeks, stressed and probably injured. My wolf surges upward, desperate to shift and tear apart anyone responsible for this cruelty, but I force her down. Violence will only make things worse. The containment area is a row of reinforced cells that look more like zoo enclosures than anything designed for humans. In the first cell, I recognize David Ironwood from Alpha Helena's pack, a young enforcer who was investigating strange human activity near pack borders when he disappeared. His clothes are torn, his face shows signs of medical procedures, and his eyes hold the glazed look of someone who's been sedated repeatedly. David, I whisper through the reinforced glass. His head snaps up, hope flaring in his dark eyes when he recognizes me. Luna Mira? How did you? We're getting you out, Kane says, already working on the electronic lock with tools Sarah provided. Are the others here? 2 cells down. Maria Silverclaw and young Tommy Redhawk. They've been taking blood samples, running tests, trying to make us shift on command. David's voice is hoarse with exhaustion and pain. Maria's in bad shape. She tried to resist, and they've been sedating her heavily. The lock clicks open, and David staggers out of his cell on unsteady legs. The combination of drugs and prolonged captivity has weakened him significantly, but he's still mobile. We move quickly to the other cells, freeing Maria, a middle-aged pack scout whose expertise in tracking made her valuable to the researchers, and Tommy, barely 18 and clearly traumatized by his ordeal. Can you all walk? I ask as Kane helps Maria stand. We can manage, she says through gritted teeth, though I can see the effort it's costing her. We're halfway back to the service entrance when alarms start blaring throughout the facility. Red lights strobe in the hallways, and the sound of running feet echoes from multiple directions. Someone has discovered the escape, and our window for a quiet extraction just slammed shut. This way, Kane leads us down a different corridor, away from the main route we'd planned to use. His supernatural hearing picks up the locations of security teams better than any of us, and we follow his lead through a maze of sterile hallways. But as we round a corner, we come face to face with Dr. Marcus Webb himself, flanked by 2 armed guards. He's a thin man in his 50s with wild gray hair and the intense eyes of someone who's spent too long chasing obsessions. When he sees us, 3 obvious werewolves escorting 3 escapees, his face lights up with scientific fascination rather than fear. Extraordinary, he breathes, pulling out a tablet to start recording. Active cooperation between specimens, sophisticated problem-solving abilities, evidence of complex social structures. This is beyond anything I hypothesized. The guards raise their weapons, not guns, but some kind of high-tech tranquilizer systems designed to drop large predators quickly. Kane steps in front of our group, power radiating from him in waves that make the humans instinctively retreat. Dr. Webb, I say, keeping my voice calm and rational. You're making a mistake. Am I? You're clearly not human, despite your appearance. The physiological data from your companions confirms significant deviations from baseline human norms. You represent an entirely new branch of human evolution. We represent people who want to be left alone. I reply firmly. People who have families, communities, lives that don't involve being caged and studied. But the scientific implications are nothing compared to the archaeological discovery Dr. Chin just made at the excavation site. I interrupt, hoping Sarah has managed to plant her evidence successfully. Evidence of a previously unknown hominid species that explains everything you've been observing without requiring live specimens. Webb's eyes widen. What discovery? Sarah didn't mention. His tablet chimes with an incoming message, and I watch his expression change as he reads Sarah's carefully crafted report. She's included photographs of planted bone fragments, soil analysis that supports her timeline, and preliminary conclusions that would make any anthropologist salivate with excitement. This changes everything, Webb mutters, his obsession already shifting to this new target. If we can prove the existence of Homo crypticus, the implications for human evolutionary history would make you the most famous anthropologist of the century, I finish. Much more prestigious than capturing a few unusual wildlife specimens. The guards look between Webb and us, uncertainty clear on their faces. They were prepared to deal with escaped animals, not people having a rational conversation with their boss about scientific ethics. Release them, Webb says suddenly, his attention already consumed by the archaeological data on his tablet. All resources are to be redirected to the excavation site immediately. Dr. Chen's discovery takes priority over everything else. Sir? One of the guards asks, confused by the sudden change in priorities. You heard me. Let them go. We have more important work to do. As we make our way out of the facility, David leans heavily on Kane's arm while Maria and Tommy follow close behind. The extraction isn't as clean as I'd hoped, but it's accomplished without violence or exposure of our species to broader government attention. The archaeological site will keep Webb busy for months, I tell Kane as we help our rescued pack members into the waiting vehicles Sarah arranged. And when he eventually realizes the bones are planted fakes, we'll be long gone with new security protocols in place. Assuming he realizes they're fakes, Kane says with a slight smile. Sarah's work was very convincing. Through our bond, I feel his pride in how I handled the situation. Instead of relying on force or authority, I found a way to redirect the threat entirely, turning a potential enemy into someone focused on harmless pursuits. 2 trials down, I murmur as we drive away from the facility. 1 to go. But even as I celebrate this success, I know the final challenge will be the hardest. The blood feud between Silvermoon and Ironwood packs has resisted resolution for 3 generations. Stopping a government investigation was one thing. Ending a cycle of violence and hatred that's claimed 17 lives will require something more than clever misdirection. It will require me to do something no Luna has ever done before. Prove that forgiveness can be stronger than vengeance. Chapter 10. Blood and Forgiveness. The neutral meeting ground Kane has arranged sits in a valley between the Silvermoon and Ironwood territories, a piece of unclaimed land that belongs to neither pack, surrounded by ancient standing stones that predate both their settlements. The air itself seems heavy with decades of accumulated hatred, and I can taste the metallic tang of old blood on the wind. They're coming, Kane says, his enhanced hearing picking up the approach of 2 separate groups. Both alphas, as promised, along with their chosen representatives. I adjust the silver circlet Elder Grandmother insisted I wear, a replica of the first Luna's crown that carries actual legal authority in werewolf law. The weight of it feels symbolic of everything riding on this final trial. If I can't resolve a blood feud that's claimed 17 lives over 3 generations, my credibility as Luna Queen will be permanently shattered. Tell me again about the original dispute, I say, though I've memorized every detail from the reports. Kane's expression darkens. A boundary disagreement over water rights to Silver Creek. Alpha Gabriel Silvermoon's great-grandfather claimed the creek based on historical pack territory. Alpha Marcus Ironwood's great-grandfather claimed it based on a treaty signed with a previous pack that occupied the land. Both had valid legal arguments. And instead of finding a compromise, they chose violence. The first death was supposedly accidental, a Silvermoon scout caught on Ironwood land during a drought, tensions high, a scuffle that went too far. But each pack demanded justice for their fallen member, and justice meant blood. The sound of approaching vehicles grows louder, and I can see dust clouds rising from 2 different directions. My stomach churns with nerves, but I force myself to project calm confidence. These alphas have been killing each other's people for 70 years. They won't be impressed by uncertainty or weakness. The Silvermoon delegation arrives first. Alpha Gabriel himself, a man in his 60s with silver-streaked hair and eyes like winter ice, accompanied by his beta Helena and 3 pack elders. Their vehicles are pristine black SUVs that speak of wealth and careful maintenance, and their clothes are formal without being flashy. Everything about them radiates controlled dignity and barely restrained power. The Ironwood delegation follows moments later, and the contrast is immediately apparent. Alpha Marcus is younger, maybe 45, with dark hair and suspicious brown eyes that constantly scan for threats. His vehicles are modified for rough terrain, his people dressed for function over fashion. Where Silvermoon projects aristocratic authority, Ironwood radiates military readiness. Mira, Alpha Gabriel greets me with a formal bow that's precisely correct according to pack protocol. Alpha Cain, we appreciate your willingness to mediate this unfortunate situation. Unfortunate. Alpha Marcus's voice carries enough outrage to make several of Gabriel's people tense. Your pack murdered my nephew 6 months ago. There's nothing unfortunate about it. It was deliberate, cold-blooded execution. Your nephew was caught on our territory with stolen property, Gabriel replies, his tone remaining maddeningly calm. He was given multiple opportunities to explain his presence and chose violence instead. He was 18 years old and confused about boundary markers that your people deliberately moved. Enough. Cain's voice carries alpha authority that makes both groups fall silent. We're not here to relitigate past grievances. We're here to find a path forward that serves both packs' interests. I step forward, feeling the weight of their collective attention like a physical force. Alpha Gabriel, Alpha Marcus, with respect, your great-grandfathers started this feud over water rights to a creek. How many of your people even remember what that water was supposed to be used for? Both alphas look genuinely surprised by the question. After a moment, Gabriel's beta Hellenus speaks up. Historical records indicate it was intended for irrigation of agricultural lands that both packs were developing. Agricultural lands that no longer exist, I observe. Both your territories now focus on forest management and sustainable hunting grounds. Neither pack has attempted large-scale agriculture in over 40 years. Alpha Marcus frowns. What's your point? My point is that you're killing each other over a resource that's no longer strategically important to either pack's survival or prosperity. I gesture toward the creek in question, visible as a ribbon of silver through the trees. When was the last time either pack actually needed that water for anything essential? The silence that follows tells me everything I need to know. They've been so focused on the principle of the thing, who had the right to the creek, that they've lost sight of whether the creek itself still matters. The principle remains, Gabriel says, but his voice lacks its earlier conviction. My great-grandfather's claim was legally sound. Yielding that territory sets a dangerous precedent. As was my great-grandfather's claim, Marcus counters. And my people have watered their livestock from that creek for 3 generations. We're not giving up ancestral rights because Silvermoon wants to expand their territory. I can see them sliding back into the same arguments that have fueled this conflict for decades. Time to try a different approach. Show me the bodies, I say quietly. Both alphas freeze. What? Gabriel asks. The 17 people who've died in this feud. I want to see where they're buried, learn who they were, understand what their deaths actually accomplished. Mira, Marcus says carefully, our dead deserve to rest in peace. Disturbing their graves would be. I'm not suggesting we disturb anything. I'm suggesting we honor them by understanding the true cost of this conflict. I let power flow into my voice, not threatening but unmistakably present. Both of you claim to be fighting for justice, for your people's honor. But your people are the ones paying the price for your inability to find compromise. Cain steps beside me, his presence reinforcing my authority. Mira makes a valid point. Perhaps it's time to examine whether this feud is serving your packs or simply serving itself. For the next hour, we visit the burial sites of all 17 victims. Each grave tells a story. Young warriors who died defending territory they'd never seen, mothers lost in retaliatory raids, elders caught in crossfire while trying to negotiate peace. The accumulated weight of tragedy is staggering. At the grave of Marcus's 18-year-old nephew, the most recent casualty, his headstone reads David Ironwood, beloved son, taken too soon. Flowers have been placed recently, and I can smell the lingering scent of tears. Tell me about David, I say to Marcus. The alpha's composed facade cracks slightly. Artistic kid. Wanted to be a painter. Spent hours sketching wildlife in the forest. He was checking snares near what he thought was our boundary when Marcus's voice trails off. When my border patrol found him with 3 rabbits that had been trapped on our land, Gabriel finishes quietly. The confrontation escalated faster than anyone intended. He was carrying art supplies, Marcus says, fresh anger creeping into his voice. Paintbrushes and sketch pads. But your people saw a trespasser with stolen game. Because that's what our training taught them to see, Gabriel admits, and I hear something like regret in his tone. Ironwood wolves on our territory meant trouble. It had always meant trouble. I kneel beside David's grave, placing my hand on the fresh earth. Through my Luna abilities, I can sense the lingering echoes of his final moments, confusion, fear, desperate attempts to explain himself before violence erupted. He died not because of hatred or malice, but because of assumptions built on 70 years of conflict. This is what the feud has cost you, I say, rising to face both alphas. Not just territory, or water rights, or family honor. The ability to see each other as people instead of enemies. David died because your peoples have forgotten how to trust each other's word. Both groups stand in uncomfortable silence around the grave of a boy who should have lived to paint beautiful pictures of the forests both packs call home. What do you propose? Gabriel asks finally. Partnership, I say simply. Not just an end to hostilities, but active cooperation. Joint patrols along your shared border to prevent future misunderstandings. Cultural exchanges so your young people can get to know each other as individuals rather than hereditary enemies. Shared stewardship of the disputed territory that honors both your historical claims. And the water rights? Marcus asks. Split them. Alternate access schedules, joint maintenance responsibilities, shared costs for any infrastructure improvements. Make the creek a symbol of cooperation instead of conflict. Gabriel shakes his head. It sounds good in theory, but there's too much bad blood. Too many grievances on both sides. My people will never trust Ironwood wolves, and I can't blame them. Then don't ask them to trust immediately, I counter. Ask them to try. Start small, join emergency response protocols, since both packs face the same threats from rogue wolves and human encroachment. Build trust through shared success rather than demanding it as a prerequisite. And if it doesn't work? Marcus asks. If old hatreds prove stronger than good intentions? I look around at the 17 graves, each one representing a failure of leadership, a moment when violence was chosen over understanding. Then, at least you'll know you tried to break the cycle. At least your children won't inherit a war they didn't start and don't understand. For a long moment, both alphas stand in thoughtful silence. I can see them weighing decades of mutual hatred against the possibility of peace, considering whether the risks of change are greater than the costs of continued conflict. Finally, Gabriel extends his hand to Marcus. 30-day trial period. Joint patrols, shared emergency protocols, supervised cultural exchange between our young people. If it works, we formalize the partnership. If it doesn't, we return to our separate territories with no additional grievances. Marcus stares at the offered hand for what feels like an eternity. Then, slowly, he reaches out and clasps Gabriel's palm in his own. 30 days. For David, and for all the others who died, because we couldn't find a better way. The handshake that ends a 70-year blood feud happens over the grave of its youngest victim, witnessed by ancient standing stones and the woman who learned that sometimes the greatest power is knowing when not to use it. As we prepare to leave the neutral ground, Cain's hand finds mine and squeezes gently. Through our bond, I feel his pride, his amazement at what we've accomplished together, his deep certainty that I've proven myself worthy of the crown I wear. 3 trials completed, he murmurs as we watch the 2 former enemy packs coordinate their departure times to avoid potential conflicts. 3 trials completed, I agree. But something tells me the real work is just beginning. He's right, of course. We've proven that the old ways can be changed, that ancient conflicts can be resolved through wisdom and compromise rather than force. But now we have to prove that these solutions can work long-term, that the reforms we've initiated can spread throughout the werewolf world. I'm ready for that challenge. Ready to be the Luna my people need, the partner Cain deserves, the leader who serves by lifting others up rather than holding them down. The moon rises full and bright as we drive away from the valley, its light blessing the peace we've helped create and illuminating the path toward a better future for all our kind. Chapter 11. The Luna's Coronation. The Great Hall has been transformed for the ceremony that will officially crown me Luna, Queen of all North American werewolf territories. Banners representing every pack flutter from the ancient stone rafters, their colors creating a tapestry of unity that would have been impossible just weeks ago. The air hums with excitement and anticipation as representatives from 57 packs take their places for a ritual that hasn't been performed in over 3 centuries. I stand before a mirror in the preparation chamber, barely recognizing the woman looking back at me. The gown Elder Grandmother designed is a masterpiece of symbolism, silver silk that flows like liquid moonlight, embroidered with wolves running through 4 scenes in thread that changes color depending on the angle of light. The Luna's crown rests on a velvet cushion nearby, its ancient silver gleaming with power that I can feel even from across the room. Nervous? Cain asks, appearing behind me in the mirror. He's dressed in formal black and silver that emphasizes his natural authority, the Alpha King's ceremonial collar marking him as the most powerful werewolf in North America. Terrified, I admit, watching his hands settle on my shoulders. Even through the silk of my gown, his touch sends warmth and strength through me. What if I'm not ready for this? What if the trials were just luck, and I'm actually completely unprepared to rule? Cain's reflection meets my eyes in the mirror, storm-gray depths filled with absolute confidence. Do you remember the first thing you did when you met those young rogues? I listened to them.
Exactly.
You didn't try to force them back into a system that had failed them. You listened, understood their pain, and created something better. His hand squeezed gently. That's what makes a true Luna, not power or birthmarks or ancient prophecies, but the wisdom to put your people's needs before your own ambitions. A soft knock interrupts us. An elder grandmother enters carrying a small wooden box carved with symbols that predate written language. It's time, Luna. The packs are assembled. She opens the box to reveal a silver pendant on a delicate chain, the Luna's blessing, worn by every Luna queen in history. As she fastens it around my neck, I feel the weight of generations of strong women who've stood where I'm about to stand, who've faced impossible challenges and found ways to protect their people. Remember, Elder Grandmother says, her aged hands steady on my shoulders, you don't rule over the packs. You serve them. You unite them. You remind them that together, we are stronger than the sum of our parts. Cain offers me his arm, and together we walk toward the Great Hall. With each step, I can hear the murmur of hundreds of voices, can smell the complex mixture of pack scents that represents every werewolf territory in North America. By the time we reach the massive oak doors, my heart is hammering so hard I'm sure everyone in the building can hear it. The doors swing open, and conversation dies instantly. Hundreds of faces turn toward us, pack leaders, elders, representatives young and old, all watching to see if the Omega, who is cast out as a murderer, can truly transform into the Luna they need. Alpha Helena Moonfong stands at the front of the assembled crowd, her silver hair gleaming in the torchlight. Who comes before the assembled packs? She calls out, her voice carrying the ritual cadence of ancient ceremony. Mira Ashwood, Cain replies, his voice resonating through the hall with supernatural clarity. Bearer of the first Luna's mark, proven through trial and ordeal, claimed as mate by the Alpha King, and chosen by the Moon Goddess to unite all packs under one true rule. And who vouches for her worthiness? Helena continues. To my surprise, it's not Cain who answers. Alpha Cassius Blackthorn steps forward, the same man who challenged my right to rule just a month ago. I do, he says, his voice carrying clearly through the silent hall. Luna Mira has proven herself worthy through deed. not just bloodline. She has shown wisdom in place of force, compassion in place of vengeance, innovation in place of tradition for tradition's sake. One by one, other pack leaders step forward to voice their support. Alpha Gabriel Silvermoon and Alpha Marcus Ironwood speak together, their united voices carrying special weight given their recent reconciliation. Alpha Dark River recounts how the Werewolf Transition Center has already begun helping young rogues across the Eastern Territories. Dr. Chun, now officially recognized as a human ally, speaks about the new protocols that protect our secrecy without requiring isolation from the modern world. But it's the voice of a 17-year-old girl named Emma that moves me most. She's one of the young rogues from the Seattle warehouse, now enrolled in college while living at the transition center we created. Luna Mira didn't just save us, Emma says, her young voice carrying surprising strength. She saw us as people worth saving when our own packs had given up on us. She proved that being different doesn't mean being wrong, that questioning old ways can lead to better solutions. As the testimonials continue, I feel something shifting in the Great Hall. This isn't just a ceremony anymore. It's a celebration of what we've accomplished together, a recognition that change is possible when leaders are willing to listen to their people's actual needs. Elder Grandmother approaches with the Luna's crown, her movements slow and ceremonial. Mira Ashwood, she intones in the ancient tongue. Do you swear to serve all packs with wisdom and compassion? To protect the weak, guide the strong, and preserve the bonds that make us more than mere animals? I do, I reply, my voice steady despite the emotions churning in my chest. Do you swear to be partner to the Alpha King, equal in authority and responsibility, united in purpose and power? I do. Do you swear to honor the first Luna's legacy while building a future worthy of our children's children? I do. Elder Grandmother lifts the crown, and I feel its power calling to mine like recognizes like. Then by the authority of the Moon Goddess, by the witness of all assembled packs, by the proof of your worthy deeds, I crown you Luna, Queen of all North American werewolf territories. The crown settles on my head, and immediately silver light blazes from every surface it touches. But this isn't the wild, uncontrolled power I wielded during my awakening. This is focused, purposeful energy that reaches out to connect with every wolf in the hall, strengthening existing bonds and creating new ones. Through the crown's power, I can feel them all, 57 packs united under one rule for the first time in centuries. Their hopes, their fears, their desperate desire for leadership that serves rather than dominates. The responsibility is overwhelming, but Kane's presence beside me grounds me, reminds me that I don't have to carry this weight alone. The hall erupts in celebration, howls of joy that speak to something primal in every werewolf heart, the sound of a species acknowledging its chosen leaders. But through the noise, I hear something else. Children laughing. Human and werewolf children playing together in the courtyard outside, their innocent joy a reminder of what we're really building here. A future where young wolves like Emma don't have to choose between autonomy and belonging. Where conflicts like the Silvermoon Ironwood feud are resolved through dialogue rather than bloodshed. Where humans like Dr. Chun can be trusted allies rather than potential threats. Where the next generation inherits hope instead of ancient grudges. Kane takes my hand as the crowd begins to disperse, pack leaders eager to return to their territories with news of the new Luna Queen. How does it feel, he asks, his voice warm with pride and love. Heavy, I admit, touching the crown with my free hand. But right, like I've finally found where I belong. You belong beside me, he says, lifting our joined hands to kiss my knuckles. Partners in all things, equals in authority, united in love. Through our bond, I feel his absolute commitment to that equality, his determination to be the kind of Alpha King who rules with his Luna rather than over her. We've both grown so much from who we were when we first met, him from a lonely leader who carried all burdens alone, me from a broken Omega who believed she was worthless. What comes next? I ask as we watch the last of the pack representatives making their preparations to leave. Next, we prove that everything we've promised can actually work long-term. We implement the reforms we've started, deal with the challenges that arise from change, and probably face new obstacles we haven't even imagined yet. The thought should be daunting, but instead I feel energized by the possibilities. Sounds like the perfect job for a Luna who specializes in finding new solutions to old problems. Kane's smile is brilliant with joy and anticipation. I love you, Luna Queen Mira. I love you too, Alpha King Kane. As we prepare to leave the Great Hall and begin our reign, I catch sight of the banners hanging from the rafters, symbols of every pack that's chosen to trust us with their futures. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new responsibilities, new opportunities to prove ourselves worthy of that trust. But tonight, I'm exactly where I belong, beside the man who saw my worth when no one else did, wearing the crown I've earned through service rather than birthright, surrounded by people who believe in the future we're building together. The outcast Omega is gone forever, replaced by the Luna Queen who will help lead her people into a new age of unity, justice, and hope. The real work is just beginning, and I can't wait to get started. Chapter 12. Forever Under the Moon. 6 months later, I stand on the balcony of our private chambers in the mountain stronghold, watching the sunset paint the peaks in shades of rose and gold. The view never gets old, but tonight it holds special significance. Tonight marks the anniversary of my exile from Shadowpine Pack, the night that seemed like an ending but was actually the beginning of everything I was meant to become. Kane's arms encircle me from behind, his warmth a constant comfort against the mountain evening's chill. "Penny for your thoughts, Luna Queen," he murmurs against my ear, sending familiar shivers down my spine. "Just thinking about how much has changed," I say, leaning back against his solid chest. "A year ago, I was convinced I was the weakest wolf in my pack. Now I'm helping govern 57 territories and planning the first interpack youth exchange program in werewolf history. And how does that feel?" I consider the questions seriously. Through the windows of our chamber, I can see the latest reports scattered across my desk. Updates from the transition centers that are now operating in 12 locations across the continent, progress reports from the Silva Moon Ironwood joint patrols that have become a model for other territorial partnerships, and wedding invitations from 3 couples who met through the cultural exchange programs we've established. Overwhelming sometimes, I admit. But right, like this is what I was always meant to be doing, even when I couldn't see it. Kane turns me in his arms so I'm facing him, his storm-gray eyes filled with the love and pride that still takes my breath away. "You know what I was thinking about today? Tell me." "That first night in the forest, when you were bleeding and broken and convinced you were worthless. Do you remember what I told you?" I smile at the memory. That I was exactly what you've been searching for. And I was right. Not because of your bloodline or your power or any destiny written in ancient prophecies. His hands cup my face with infinite gentleness. Because of who you are. The woman who chose compassion over revenge, understanding over judgment, building something new over defending something broken. Before I can respond, a soft knock interrupts us. "Come in," Kane calls, though we don't break apart. Elder grandmother enters, moving with the careful dignity of her advanced years, but her eyes bright with excitement. "Forgive the intrusion, but there's news I thought you'd want to hear immediately." "What news?" I ask, though her expression suggests it's something wonderful. Dr. Marcus Webb's archaeological project has made international headlines. His discovery of Homo crypticus has been validated by 3 independent research teams, and he's been offered the chair of evolutionary anthropology at Harvard. Her smile is mischievous. It seems our Dr. Chen's creative solution has given him exactly the recognition he always craved. Kane chuckles. And completely eliminated his interest in hunting actual cryptids. More importantly, Elder Grandmother continues, the research has provided perfect cover for several unusual wildlife sightings across the continent. Humans now have a scientific explanation for anything unusual they might observe, which has significantly reduced government interest in our activities. It's exactly the kind of long-term solution I've learned to appreciate, one that addresses the root cause of a problem rather than just its symptoms. Dr. Webb gets his fame, the scientific community gets new knowledge to explore, and werewolves get better protection from human discovery. There's more, Elder grandmother says, her excitement growing. The European Werewolf Council has requested a formal meeting to discuss implementing similar reforms in their territories. Word of what we've accomplished here has spread throughout the werewolf world. The implications take my breath away. When Kane and I started this journey, we were focused on North American territories. The possibility that our reforms might inspire global change feels almost too large to comprehend. They want to learn from us, I say, wonder creeping into my voice. They want to learn from you, Elder grandmother corrects gently. Your approach to leadership has challenged assumptions that have existed for millennia. Wolves around the world are asking why they can't have transition centers for their struggling youth, partnership protocols for resolving territorial disputes, and inclusive governance structures that value wisdom over just strength. Kane's pride radiates through our bond like sunshine. The revolution continues to spread. After Elder grandmother leaves us alone, Kane and I return to the balcony to watch the stars emerge in the darkening sky. The full moon is rising, its silver light blessing the territories we've sworn to protect and serve. Do you ever miss it? Kane asks quietly. The simplicity of your old life? When your biggest worry was disappointing your pack instead of governing dozens of them? I consider the question honestly. There are moments when the weight of leadership feels crushing, when I wonder if I'm making the right decisions or just creating new problems to replace old ones. But then I think about Emma, now thriving in college while helping other young rogues find their way. I think about David Ironwood's grave, where Gabriel and Marcus now leave flowers together on the anniversary of his death. I think about all the futures that are possible now because someone was willing to challenge the way things had always been done. Never, I say with absolute certainty. That wasn't really living. It was just surviving, waiting for someone else to give me permission to be who I really was. And who are you really? Kane asks, though his tone suggests he already knows the answer. I turn to face him fully, this man who saw my worth when I couldn't see it myself, who stood beside me through every trial and transformation, who loves me not despite my strength, but because of it. I'm Luna Queen Mira Ravencrest, I say, claiming both the title I've earned and the name that marks me as his equal partner. I'm the woman who learned that true power comes from lifting others up, not holding them down. I'm the Luna who serves by creating space for others to thrive. Kane's smile is brilliant with love and admiration. And I'm the luckiest Alpha King in werewolf history because I get to spend eternity beside the most extraordinary woman I've ever known. When he kisses me, I taste storm and starlight, promises and possibilities, a future bright with hope for all our kind. Through our bond, I feel his absolute commitment to our partnership, his excitement about the changes still to come, his deep peace at having found his true mate at last. There's something else I want to tell you. I say when we break apart, my heart racing with nervous excitement. What? Kane asks, though his enhanced senses have probably already detected the change I'm still adjusting to myself. Dr. Chen ran some tests last week, after I'd been feeling unusually tired. I take his hands in mine, watching his expression as understanding begins to dawn. We're going to have a baby, Kane. A little prince or princess who'll grow up in the world we're building together. For a moment, Kane is absolutely still, his storm-gray eyes wide with wonder. Then joy explodes across his face, so pure and bright that it takes my breath away. A baby, he whispers, his hands moving to rest gently on my still flat stomach. Our child. The first royal werewolf born into a truly united North America, I say, amazement coloring my voice. They'll never know a world where packs fight endless territorial wars, where young wolves have to choose between belonging and autonomy, where strength is valued over wisdom. Kane lifts me off my feet, spinning me around on the balcony, while his laughter echoes off the mountain peaks. When he sets me down, his eyes are bright with unshed tears of joy. They'll grow up knowing that their mother was the Luna who changed everything, he says, his voice rough with emotion. That love really can conquer hate, that unity really is stronger than division, that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is choose compassion over conquest. As we hold each other under the light of the full moon, I think about the journey that brought us here. From the clearing where I was cast out as a murderer to this balcony, where I plan the future of our species. From the broken Omega, who believed she was worthless, to the Luna Queen, who leads through service rather than dominance. Every challenge we've faced has made us stronger. Every problem we've solved has prepared us for the next one. Every choice to build rather than destroy has brought us closer to the world our child will inherit, a world where werewolves are defined not by their ability to dominate others, but by their willingness to protect and nurture the pack bonds that make us whole. I love you, Cain says, the words carrying the weight of eternity and the promise of forever. I love you too, I reply, meaning it with every fiber of my being. The moon continues its ancient journey across the star-filled sky, blessing our love, our leadership, and the bright future we're building together. Somewhere in the territories below, young wolves sleep safely in transition centers, former enemies work side by side on joint patrols, and children dream of a world where their worth isn't determined by their bloodline or their ability to fight, but by their capacity to love and be loved in return. This is what victory looks like, not conquest or dominance, but a future where every wolf can find their place in the pack, where every voice matters, where every heart has value. This is the legacy of the Luna who was once forgotten, but who remembered herself in time to help all her people remember what they could become. Under the eternal light of the moon, our story continues, not as an ending, but as a beginning of something greater than either of us could have imagined alone. Together, we are infinite possibility. Together, we are home.
The end.